Countdown is working. I got the circle going. We gotta wait for the circle to stop though, right? Or no? Well, I don't get any feedback like I'm talking to myself. Are we good? Are we good now?
Yes.
What are we? 12? What does that say? 12:03?
Mm-hmm.
That's not bad. It would just be terrible if I showed up on time. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I apologize again for being a few minutes late. But it's really, you know what? To my defense, it's not really my fault. You know, sometimes I touch things and the computer is very, very sensitive. And but anyway, yeah, we got it all set up. I think we're good to go. So good afternoon. This is another one of our talks. Latanya, it's good to have you on board already. You're very, very, thank you so much. Latoya, did I read it wrong? Miss Dance, thank you. I hope all is well. Um, so this is another one of our sessions. We're going to talk a little bit this afternoon, kind of bring you up to date on some of the things going on in the department, some of the things we're in the middle of, and things that are coming in the future. I want to update you on a couple of situations I think that are going to really do. Oh, you're laughing at me already, Miss Dance. That's great. That's great. That I think will really help us as we move forward in trying to share some information and also continue on our openness and transparency. Ms. Hall, good to have you on board. Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you. Um, so what I like to do, and again, just for those, if anyone is watching that hasn't tuned in before, um, not only with the pandemic that we're going through, and it's hard to be around larger groups, but we've been doing this for a while now. Is having these sessions. I'll do one a month, one at 12 in the afternoon, and one at 6 in the evening, just to open up to different groups. Certainly more than welcome to join in on both. But it's just a way to send out some messages and talk a little bit about the department and share information, being open and transparent, as opposed to just going to a community meeting where we may only have 20 or 30 people and we have an hour to talk. But this is something that can be interactive. I would encourage you, if you have questions, to please submit them. Jamie's with me again, and Destiny is helping out as well. Any questions that come in, we'll take down. I will try to hit every single one. If I miss one, right, if we get talking or going back and forth and I miss one, I promise that I will reach back out to you and follow up. So again, I want to say, Ms. Hall, thank you. Stacy's good to have you on board. Thank you very much for being here. Carol, it's good to see you. Thank you very much. That means a lot. Martha, thank you. Good morning. Well, I think we might be in the afternoon. I got to do the afternoon, Martha. It's good to see you. Fran, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And thank each of you for tuning in and spending a little bit of time with me this afternoon. So, first thing I want to touch base on is where are we at in the city with crime? And a reason I talk about crime is I want to make sure that there's a perception out there. I talked to some individuals, and I don't know if it's communication or perception that the city needs to know. Citizens have a right to know and deserve to know where we're at with crime in the city. Often I worry or I'm concerned that I don't get the message out enough, or that the perception is very different than what the reality is. So currently, we have a reduction in every single crime category in the city, except our aggravated assaults. We have a difference of about 7. Our crime is just about zeroed out for violent crime. We have a reduction in homicides. We have a reduction in robberies. We have a reduction in rapes. We have 7 more incidents last year than this year in aggravated assaults. I can tell you that is 100% domestic violence. Situations we're dealing with strangulation. We are down in burglaries. We are down in our larcenies. We are down in our auto thefts. Overall in the city, crime is last week we were down 10%. This week we were down 12%. It's a little over 12, actually. It's 12.5, but I'm going to be modest. So we're down 12%. And we are doing very, very well. The men and women are working hard. Communities are responding. The information is flowing well back and forth. We do have an uptick in our shootings this year. We have about 9 more shootings this year than we had last year. And when I say shootings, I'm not talking homicides. Our homicides are down from last year. But our shootings, individuals shot in the arm, shot in the leg, those are aggravated assaults that are considered non-life threatening, but they require it is a felony. It's aggravated assault, and we're up about 9 from where we were this time last year. but the last 2 months we have been below. Our trend is heading in the right direction. I think we've turned a course. When I looked at the end of June and July, we have a 22% crime reduction of June and July, which is, I wanted to look at how we did this summer compared to last summer. Last summer is where we saw an uptick in crime, and then we tried to balance it out as we ended the second half of the year. This year, through June and July, we have a 22% reduction in crime, which has led the way to our 10% reduction in crime overall for the year. 22% reduction June and July. Overall, the year we set with what I say, 10%, 12% reduction in crime. So I'm happy with where the numbers are going. I'm happy with our strategies. Our 3 selected neighborhoods that we're focusing on: Marshall Courts, South Morrison, Tricia, Dresden Lane in the central, and Lucas Creek and Beachmont in the northern part of the city. That's our 3 areas that we're going to focus on all year long. Now, we'll go where different trends and patterns take us, but we have a concentrated effort in those 3 neighborhoods. So being open and transparent, I think it's important to be out as much as I can. Every Fridays, I've cleared time off of my calendar. 1, it helps me get out of the office. 2, it allows me to see different parts and neighborhoods of the city, not driving by in a car or on a bicycle, but walking. So every Friday at 3:30 for the last 3 Fridays, I have walked to different neighborhoods. I started in the south, then the central, and the north. I've been in Tricia and Dresden Lane. I have been in Lucas Creek. I've been in down around Marshall Courts area, and then I've also walked. What did I do last?
Hilton.
I was saying Hilton neighborhood, and 5 or 6 citizens came out. We had a really good conversation. I really enjoyed that. Some young adult police commissioners have joined me, but it just allows me to walk. I'm not knocking on doors and interrupting people. I'm just walking in the neighborhood. It gives me a chance to look at different parts of our community. But I think that's important. I was going to do a walk Saturday, but we end up having a tactical situation. Our SWAT team was called out early Saturday morning, and then I had a meeting that afternoon. And as it went on into the afternoon, we had a heavy downpour. We had some flooding, and I was unable to do the walk in Huntington. But I'm going to make that up this weekend, or not this weekend. This week I'll be there on Friday again at 3:30. I want to walk the Huntington neighborhood down there around Warwick and the shipyard area down around that neighborhood. I look forward to that. So that's where I'll be on Friday. So we talked about crime. So again, overall the city right now sits at a 12% reduction in crime overall. We have an award ceremony come up on the 28th. Now I know we can't open that up as much to the public as I would like to. We will video it so you'll be able to watch it online. But we have some officers who've done just an amazing job, and we will space out. We'll be in masks. We'll be safe. But they deserve to have their day of some of the above and beyond great things that they've done. And I'll tell you, I look forward to our award ceremony. They certainly deserve it. We have a recruit class in right now, 16 officers. The last class that graduated, they are halfway through field training. All 23 are doing very, very well. And then we have another 16 that will graduate about mid-October. That will be joining those ranks. And again, we're running 3 academies a year. We are still hiring. We're continually. We'll have an academy that will start in September. That academy will graduate about March, and we will have another academy that starts in January. So our average size, it looked like the one in September is going to be about 20 individuals. I've got 6 or 7 more interviews this week, and we should be set with that academy starting in September. We have been very blessed. Very fortunate. A lot goes out to Captain Bradley, his background investigators recruiting team, Cynthia Williams, Lieutenant Foniak, Officer Wind, just the work that they're doing, all the background investigators that continually are working hard getting people in. People want to still continue to join this department. And I appreciate that. I want people to know that come to work here that they're valued, they matter to me, and it helps us maintain or it allows us to move officers in different divisions and really push to keep that strong presence and patrol, not only for officer safety, but interacting with our community and our citizens. Training 2 weeks ago, we were selected by the governor. There were 5 cities involved that talked about best practices in policing. And Newport News was addressing what are we doing in the community. And a couple things we talked about there, and it went across the state. We have talked about them here, guys, right? We have talked about them here with our Use of Force Review Board that is officers and citizens together. I think that's the best. When we talked about citizens on our review panels, we talked about our young adult police commissioners, our freshmen, sophomores, and juniors and seniors from every high school that we meet every Thursday and work with for 3 hours. We talked about our community walks. We talked about the participants we have with the Boys and Girls Club. We talked about the walks that I'm doing on Friday. We talked about taking our recruits out of the academy for a week and embedding them in the community. They work with homeless individuals who have a drug addiction. All of those things that bond our relationships and are really proven here. And on top of that, and they say, well, Chief, how is that effective? And my response is that it's effective because of our relationship with our citizens. We know our community, our interactions, and I can quantify it by our crime reduction and also our clearance rates. The cases that are happening are well above the national average on solvability, and that matters. And it's not just a numbers game, but when people's homes are broken into or their cars stolen, they expect to see results, and I understand that. And every crime that we have is not just a number. I get that. It's an individual. It's a citizen, someone who's gone through an event where the police have been called to. God forbid that it's a violent crime or if it's even a property crime. But the reason I track those numbers is for evidence-based and data, that if we have certain strategies, if crime is going down, then those strategies are working. But if I have these certain strategies and crime is going up, then I've got to be able to make adjustments and change. I don't want to just, hey, look, crime's up or crime's down. Well, why is that, Chief? Well, I don't really know. I don't have any evidence or data to back it up. You have to pay attention to the data, and that's how we do evidence-based policing and try to improve ourselves. We also have a lot of training. Last thing, then I'm going to get to the questions. A lot of training. I'm going to add 2 weeks onto the academy, this academy that's in. We're going to do a lot of things, spend a week with our Milo system, which is a simulator. It's like a big computer game almost, but reality, or it looks as if it were reality. My plan is to buy a new system. I'm just looking for a place to put it. Right now we have one at ECPI, and that may be the place that we put it if we partner with them for some space. But it teaches officers to use de-escalation. It teaches officers to use their OC spray, their aspeton, their taser, and firearm if need be. But it really, when we talk about training and de-escalations and safety and talking people down, making sure that we do the right thing in scenarios, trying our best to identify the difference between a firearm and a cell phone at 2 and 3 in the morning. But my plan is to do a lot more scenario training so we have officers practicing over and over. But I also want to incorporate citizens. I want citizens to go through the system. And if people are out there, chime in if you'd be interested in looking at that system. It gives you an idea of how quick an officer has to make a decision, how hard it can be to tell the difference between a cell phone and a firearm at 2:30 in the morning and the calls that come in. You can tell that we don't teach someone to shoot the gun out of a hand or a knife or shoot a hand or a foot. The system tracks rounds. We're responsible when we fire where every round goes. And it tracks rounds in this computer simulation so we can stop it and see where our rounds went. But it also shows how accurate we are, how we handle situations, and staying calm. The reason I would like citizens to go through it, not just our young adult police commissioners or people who attend our Citizens Academy, is because it allows citizens to see the real life scenarios that officers are faced with. I could not be more impressed with the work that the men and women are doing. You know, just like this pandemic affects citizens, right? People out of work, unsure about childcare, what's the future hold. It's the same with officers who take care of their families and issues that they have with their children in school and education. So I understand all those things. I think it's a good time for us it gives us the opportunity to take a break, take a step back and just a deep breath, that we're all in this together. And calls that we go on and homes that we visit or situations we respond to, individuals are dealing with those same stressors and problematic and concerns and issues that officers do. We're all human. So I encourage my officers to just be understanding and empathetic towards others, to understand people are frustrated, and when we're all cooped up at one time, I will tell you that the number one call we have right now is domestic violence. We average about 600 a month, almost 23 a day, and that is a concern to me. It is the one crime I have still not been able to impact on the occurrence, but I do believe that our service to victims, male or female, is greatly increased by our domestic violence team of Cheryl and Nisha. I'm going to talk a little bit about them later on. But let me get to some of have I missed anything yet? Stacy, it's good to have you on board. Thank you. David, how are you, my friend? I really appreciate all you and your officers are doing for our city. Is the uptick in shootings due to poor training or poor attitudes? What is the status of ride-alongs, and how can the citizens get along and participate? I have a few fraternal on the force would love to implement. All right, Dave. So a lot of questions. So the uptick in shootings, it's a good question. Some of the issues really are whether it's an argument, where it's a robbery that turns into a shooting, whether it's a neighborhood dispute, issues. Or just before the summer, there were a couple shootings that I do believe were gang related that happened in the central area of the city, and then a couple carried over into Hampton and then back into Newport News. Some of those individuals have been located, identified, and arrested. Officers are taking a lot of guns off the street. Last year we set a record. We took over 800 firearms off the street. Right now, currently this year, we've already taken about 640, 650 guns off the street. If we keep up that pace, we will surpass last year. And some of the firearms that you would see on the street are the number of firearms that we've taken out of homes, whether it's been on traffic stops or search warrants or in abandoned homes that maybe firearms are being stashed at. It's quite alarming. Some of the type of firearms and their capability, it's alarming. But the officers are very vigilant. Our narcotics division is doing an outstanding job. The gang guys gathering intel together are really, really working well. So we talked about our shootings are up about 7 or 8 compared to where they were this time last year. Our homicides are down. This time last year we had 14 murders in our city. Currently we have 9. Now, every loss of life matters. But I need to make sure that we are trending down in those situations. The crimes that I have not been able to impact aggravated assault. That is our domestic situations where any type of male or female would touch the other one's neck or strangulation. And the shootings are the ones that are up this year where we're at right now. Now, the last couple months, I have seen us start to trend down, but it's not significant enough that I'm willing to say, hey, we have a good trend going. I'm still monitoring that. I will tell you that crime is down in our city overall 12%. That's all the crimes together. So if we report it out to the FBI today, to capture all the crime numbers for each city in our country, we have a 12% reduction. Last year we had a 5% reduction overall, and the year before that we were down 9%. So if it was tiered, 9%, right, and then another 5%, and we're right now 12% down from where we were even last year. So we're on a good pace. The summer is where we really lost some of our ground last year. We put things in place early on this year to affect June, July, and August. I really wasn't sure how things would go with the pandemic, so I'll be looking to see how we finish out these last 2 weeks. I can't believe we're already in mid-August as we move into September. But I will tell you now, we are starting to plan for what we will do in Thanksgiving and December. We see robberies increase, thefts increase as we get into the holidays, and we're starting to put plans in place. We do have neighborhoods that we're focusing on all year long. That's South Morrison in the central, Marshall Courts in the south, and Lucas Creek up in the north, the Beachmont area in the north. And I've walked all those areas, and we'll do it again. But that is the neighborhoods that we're focusing on. As far as ride-alongs, we kind of got to scale back on that right now because of the pandemic. If the governor moves us back into a lesser phase, we'll bring those back. I think they're vital and important, but right now we've got to scale back a little bit. We're trying to do some virtual citizens academies. I look forward to getting that back in together. But right now we've got to kind of pull back and make sure that we're all staying safe. But those are great questions, Dave, and I really appreciate it, man. Thank you. Stephanie, do you think reduction in crime in the neighborhood, such as breaking into homes, is because more people are home now, or because people are from home? Stephanie, I will tell you, I could see that. The only problem is we've had a reduction in burglaries the last 3 years. 2 years ago we were down, crime was down 9%. Last year it was down 5%. This year it's down 12.5%. I believe the reason that we're seeing a decrease in the residential burglaries, and that is a hard crime, because it's not like there's a robbery and someone calls the police. There's a traffic accident and someone calls the police. Your home may be broken into if people are at work from 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 and they come home, or they work at night and they come home in the morning, different hours. It's hard to tell in an 8-hour window or 10-hour window, or if you're gone for the weekend, when did that crime actually happen? I believe it's down because citizens are taking back their neighborhoods, that they're calling more. Residents are letting us know And I also attribute that because our clearance rate. And our clearance rate means that we solved a burglary. We made an arrest in a home break-in. And there's a national average that the FBI looks at across the country, how many burglaries happen and how many are solved. And our clearance rate or our arrest rate for burglaries, larcenies, robberies is all higher than what the national average is. So I believe that a sustained pattern of that is because individuals are more engaged with their police department. They're taking their neighborhoods back. They're calling us. I also believe it is individuals that get arrested for other crimes may tell on other people or may confess. We've arrested some juveniles that told us about multiple cars they've stolen, or individual that gets arrested and tells us multiple homes that they might have broken into, whether they're doing it for profit and gain or to feed maybe a drug addiction habit that they have. But I believe that's why that we're seeing the reductions we have, and it's not just this year, and it's not just this time frame. It's really the last 3 years we've seen a steady decrease in residential burglaries. Thank you, Chief Drew. Valerie, thank you, Valerie. I appreciate that. Jonathan, homicide on 100 block of 78th Street. Did you walk that street? 78th Street. I was there that night. I haven't done a walk there. I walked in 4 neighborhoods. I've been doing it for 4 weeks. I walked in 4 neighborhoods. I walked the Marshall Courts neighborhood. I walked Lucas Creek and Beachmont. I walked South Morrison, Tricia and Dresda Lane, and I walked Hilton neighborhood last week. I was going to do one Saturday in Huntington, but it was raining all day, flooding, and I didn't. So my plan is to go. I will go back and make my commitment to the neighborhood that asked me to come there in Huntington, and then I could come back and do 78th. Maybe Jamie, if you could write that down, and that'll be a place that we hit. But thank you, Jonathan. I was there when that homicide occurred, but I have not walked that neighborhood as of yet. Good afternoon, Anna. Good afternoon, Chief. Thank you. Anna, thank you very much, and I'll take every prayer you have. Thank you very much. Ms. Hill, thank you. I appreciate that. Martha. Oh, Martha, thank you again. How can individuals request? So you can email us in or send us through a message right now if there's some neighborhoods that you'd like us to walk or like me to walk in or spend some time with. I do it, I say 30 to 45 minutes, but I usually have a pretty good time doing that. As long as I'm interacting with someone or enjoying the neighborhood. So every Friday at 3:30, I'm trying to go to a neighborhood and walk. I've done it for the last 4, and I want to continue that. Want to see how it worked out, but I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the interaction with kids and citizens that come out and have some interaction. So I appreciate that. I got rained on a couple times, but you know what? That's all right. I have enjoyed it. I am interested in seeing the system. I think it's important we understand what it takes to make decisions. Yeah, David. I think you're absolutely right. That is something I'm really going to expand on. I went up and saw the presentation last week with Chief Hudgens and Chief Randall. A lot of departments have it. I have the money set aside to buy our own. I think that's important because I want to do training during the day, the afternoon, the evening, the weekends. I want citizens to be able to see that and feel right what it's like when you have to make that split-second decision. Right now, I'm just looking for a place to put it. They're very, very much more advanced. There's some that are just one large screen, and there's some that are 3 large screens, right, where it's your peripheral vision and in front of you, and there's some that are even 360 all the way around. I would look at one sort of three-dimensional or 3 screens, but it has sound effects, and it's very, very real life. I'm not as versed in the technology and the gaming systems, but some of that stuff is very, very realistic, and it puts you in a situation where you have to make decisions, and it really focuses on officer safety, the safety of our citizens that we deal with, how to respond to domestic calls, de-escalation. It takes all the training that we get and puts it into a scenario, and we can change that scenario so many different times, and then we can go back and teach the officer. And I think that's what's so important. Teach the officer. What could I do better? How can I improve? What should I have done here? Those things are just very, very valuable. So that when we're on the street, it helps us make better decisions. And I think as we move forward and we talk about policing in the future and reform, that training is going to be a very, very key component. And Butch, I'd love for you to take part, my friend. Thank you. That would be great. Desiree, Chief Drew, you're Desiree, thank you. I appreciate that. It means a lot. I appreciate that. So while I'm on training for a minute before I go to to Lisa, a couple of things I want to expand on in the academy. We teach now, right? We teach anti-bias based policing. We teach cultural diversity. We teach de-escalation. We teach issues in mental health and response, and we teach stuff about autism. But I want to expand on that. I know we'll never be the experts. People have degrees on their walls about those programs, but I wanted to try to expose officers more and more. And we do a really good job of doing it in the academy. But if we don't practice something all the time, we lose it. I want to incorporate it in some of the in-service that we do. Same as that Milo system. I just think it's so valuable in technology. We can do it in the rain or shine, and you can do so many different scenarios in a matter of minutes. But I want to increase our training and have specialized instructors. One of the problems that we have with critical incident training, or some might call it CIT training, meaning how we talk to and how we de-escalate stressful situations, as well as bias-based policing, is we send people to classes and there's only so many seats that I can get officers into, and that frustrates me, and it makes me sit back and how do we do this better? I want this whole department, every officer, all 460 officers, trained in those two techniques. But if I can only train 10 a year, there's so many seats that open up. That frustrates me. So we've looked at different ways. I've worked with Chief Hudgens, and what we're going to do is we're going to send a group of officers to be trained and become what they call train the trainer, or experts, and they will be able to come back, and I will be able to use those officers to train this department all year round. I have a goal to have everyone trained by the the middle of 2022. The pandemic pushed us back this year. I wanted it by the end of 2021, but now I'm going to give it till the end of the summer of 2022 to get the whole department trained. That's important, including the chief of police, right, including myself. So those are just some of the, when I hit on the training part, I wanted to share that with you. I think those are areas I want to continue to expand on, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about some of the things that Chief Hudgens and Chief Randalls have done to set us up as we go into the future. Lisa, I'm sorry. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everything you do for the citizens. Lisa, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Hello, Chief. So there were a lot of discussions going on right now regarding defunding the police and lowering charges for assaulting a police officer from today's special session in Richmond. Have you had a conversation with our mayor to ensure we're using our lobbying power to keep our police force manned to meet the community standards and expectations? In addition to your, I don't want to see you lose funding, as we mentioned before, toward a great community funding. Do you see assault on police officers to continue to be a chargeable offense? A lot in one note, but thanks. All right, well, let me see if we can break it down. Let me say this first. I am blessed in this city. I believe the city is blessed. Mayor Price does an outstanding job, and he is a true partner with the police. Now, when I say that, I also say that about our city council. Councilman Harris and Jenkins, and Councilman Scott, Vice Mayor Cherry, Miss Vick, and Miss Woodbury. When we talk about oversight, I will tell you, that's an oversight board right there. They do a phenomenal job, and they are very interactive with this department, and they ask a lot of questions. What are we doing? What is our crime? What is your plan? What is your strategy? How do we look on complaints this year? As well as my boss, the Assistant City Manager, Alan Archer, and the City Manager, Cindy Roth, are very engaged. We talk a couple times a week about what we're doing. So let me first say we have a great relationship, all of those entities, because what our end goal is to try to make Newport News the safest city we can make it for people who live here and raise their families here, right, and work in this city, that visit this city. So that is our number one priority, is to preserve, take care of the citizens, our businesses, and our youth, right? That's our future of this city. And I am very fortunate to work with such talented and caring individuals. They ask hard questions, and that's okay. I appreciate that. So I feel very, very confident in issues that we have in the department moving forward. When we talk about defunding, issues with homelessness and individuals who suffer with mental illness, who are challenged by autism, individuals that may have drug addiction. Oftentimes, the police are the first ones called to those situations. Now, I train officers to serve and protect the citizens. I said a little bit earlier that there are people who have degrees upon degrees on each of those entities, right? Mental illness, autism, homelessness, drug addiction. When we talk about defunding, if there are other entities that would do a better job responding to those situations, I think we should use them. And I think there are a lot more individuals that have training in that, much longer and more in depth than we do. The problem is that sometimes there is violence associated with some of those situations. And that leads me into Chief Hudgens. He had done some research about a group in Seattle, an organization called Cahoots. So besides the name being a little to me, he really pushed a new direction here, and it'll be up and running by the end of September, maybe even mid-September. Trying to push him a little bit. But on some of the calls that I just mentioned, instead of the police responding first, someone that has those issues or concerns or dealing with those situations, someone in uniform and a badge showing up may send the wrong message, or at least in their mind. Oh, I'm homeless and they're here to harass me. Oh, I have drug addiction. They don't care about me. They're here just to arrest me. Or I suffer from mental illness. Someone's here to hurt me. Whatever it might be. We are going to have a organization called CARE. It will have a mental component from our, what's the word I want to use? Mental health, as well as a paramedic that will ride together and respond to those calls. Right now, we're going to run it Monday through Friday, and we're looking at our data of when is the time we get the most calls. We're also going to take an officer and have them work at the hospital. So when those individuals are addressed, if they need any type of medical attention, that I'm not pulling officers from the street, that I have an officer trained to assist at the hospital, and then we're sending medical and professionals to some of those calls. Now, we cannot not send police. We have to be there to ensure those individuals are safe, but we don't have to be the first one through the door. We can be what we would call like a backup unit. So if it's a situation of someone suffering from mental illness, that maybe they meet a health professional and a paramedic first, and the officer may be on the outside just to ensure safety. I think that's outside the box thinking. There's some other departments that have already gone that route. Chief Hudgens really worked hard with the fire department, our hospitals in our area, our health professionals that are trained to address such issues. I think it's going to be a hit, and I think it will help us respond better. Again, it's not about the arrest that we make. It's about making sure that those individuals get treatment that they need and trying to de-escalate anything of any type of confrontation. So when we talk about defunding, I think it is placing money to create those entities. But I don't see it really taking money away from the police department. It's going to save us time and response time. It'll save us calls. Instead of being tied up on some of those calls, we'll be back in our neighborhoods more to suppress crime, interact with our communities and our youth. But I think it is just being strategic, and it's not defunding us. It's adding a component to us, and we're bringing in outside resources that already exist and work together. And I think that's when you talk about progressive. That's one thing I believe this department is. I believe that's why the governor picked us to be one of the departments that he highlighted on his town hall meetings about policing. We're not waiting for a situation that happened in Minneapolis, the loss of the life of Mr. Floyd, or the situation that happened in Atlanta with Mr. Brooks. I'm not waiting for something like that to happen and then, we need to do this. That's reactive. We're constantly looking at what's the next best thing. How do we improve our camera system? How do we do better training? How do we increase our supervision to officer ratio? All those things are already in the works. The program that I just talked about, CARE or Cahoots, like it is in Seattle, Chief Hudgens started working on that in November of last year when he sat down with the assistant city manager. We're just using our resources better. So we talk about funding, right? We brought in 2 domestic violence coordinators, advocates that were in other entities, one with started her own foundation, her own organization, and the other was working in human services. We hired them both to come here. They work for the police department. I don't have any red tape about showing them documentation. They see the reports before I do. They're the ones calling back victims, whether they're male or female, the next day checking on them. What do they need? And they're partnering with other outside entities. But we have civilians that are working for the police department. And I will tell you, there's probably 5 or 6 cities that have called and asked how that's working. And I don't mean inside the state of Virginia. I mean across the country. Cheryl and Nisha do some phenomenal work. And while I'm there, I want to tell you, I'm going to talk a little bit more about them next week in September. But the Domestic Violence Month is in October. And I'm going to ask them to sit down and actually have a session that they would do themselves. So they'll be with me next month for a few minutes. I'd like you to see them. They're very, very popular in the city right now. Everybody's calling them, so I'm sure you'll recognize them when you see them. But I want you to hear from them directly what their philosophy is, how they feel about being out of the private sector and here working with the police department to address domestic violence. And we found so many ways. Chief Randall and Sergeant Ross and Lieutenant Fish have just done so much to open up the direction of what their scope is. They're rewriting our policy on how we're going to service individuals, youth in our city. And I'm excited. You know, we brought a lot of it on to try to be proactive and work with our middle school or high school and college students or individuals in our churches. And because of the pandemic, they haven't been able to do those things. But they're doing so much now. I just think it's going to be off the chart. I could not be more impressed with their talent. So those things, scroll back down. I just want to make sure I hit everything. So we talk about the funding. I don't see that as an issue here. I see us being jointly working together, just bringing other entities together to make us more efficient. I have a great relationship with our mayor, our city manager. They ask hard questions, but that's all right. I expect that, and I think that makes a good relationship. The last one you said about assault on police officers, I understand that argument. You know, if someone pushes an officer in the shoulder, right? If we're trying to get through a crowd and someone pushes an officer, is that really felony assault? I understand both sides of that. I don't think people should be putting their hands on officers, but I also want to make sure that a minor offense, that we don't start it off charging a felony if we don't need to. And I would dare say that most of those offenses get reduced down to simple assault when they go to court. So I certainly understand that. I think most officers do. It needs to be realistic, and I get that. I want to thank you. Those are some great questions. I hope I hit them all. But I will tell you, it's really a true benefit to work so well with our elected officials, our city manager. It makes a huge, huge difference. Our city council, they're very supportive, but they're also very, they want to know the answers. They want results, and I think that's what allows us to get the service, to have the service that we have for our community. Robert, I've tried to reach out about the Katie Thine petition, hard man to reach. Yeah, I'm not sure about the petition, Robert. I do apologize. I've already had 3 meetings this morning, and it's when I get done here, we're going to go put the final touches on a grant to help us with some training. Matter of fact, to pay for some of the training I was just talking about. I'm not sure about the petition, but if you want to email us here or chat with us on Facebook, I can have Jamie reach back out to you. If you put a number, you don't have to put it here if you don't want. I can call you directly. But we'll certainly touch base. But I'm not sure. Am I missing something, Jamie? I'm just not sure what that petition is, but we can talk it through. Patty, you wouldn't condone one of your officers approaching 2 people in an accident by saying, "Let's get this dog and pony show going," would you? Patty, I'm not. I don't know. I don't know what the scenario is. I have to be really careful when talk about a significant incident. I don't know if something is said flippant, like, hey, let's get the show on the road, or hey, how you doing? So I don't know what the content is. If you want to shoot me a text or a call, we can talk it through, but I just don't know what that could be taken a lot of different ways. Doreen, thank you, Chief. We appreciate your efforts. Oh yeah, I can't wait to get Citizens United for Action back, KUFA. It is very, very important. You guys are very, very valuable, as we continue to evolve. I'm really looking at using that group more and more as an advisory and talk about things in our community. We have representatives from North, Central, and South, so I'm really looking at maybe taking it up a notch and leaning on you all about some advice, ideas, proactive approaches to some things, or maybe even reactive. But I cannot wait till we get back together. You guys are a good group, and I appreciate all that you and that group does for this city. Looking forward to seeing you on the 66th on Friday. Blah. Let me get my eyes better. 65th on Friday. That's a walk that we're gonna do in Huntington. Yeah, I really apologize about Saturday, but it was coming down and flooding and stuff, and I didn't want people to have to feel like, oh, we gotta go. So I will be there on Friday, and I look forward to it. I really enjoy those walks, and they're great. Have you gotten my advertisements for Harris? Jonathan, you're killing me. I'm supposed to keep a straight face on this show, man. That's good. Sure wish our city had a chief. Linda, where are you from? Um, look, I'm very blessed. This is a great city. It's a great department to work for. Um, I'm very, very thankful for the men and women who come to work in this city. You know, we look at hiring recruits and maintaining. Uh, all departments are looking for good talent, and I want to send a really strong message to those that choose Newport News, whether it's in a civilian capacity, in forensics, our records division, our dispatchers, our officers that come here. I'm going to run this department like a family. And from Rosa, who keeps this building clean when I see her, I take time and ask her, how are you doing? How's your family? Do you have a good weekend? Um, that matters. And I want people to know that they're valued, that come to work here, that I care about them. And uh, so I am. It is me who's blessed. It's a great city. It's a great department. It's full of talent, and the men and women who work here, they matter to me. So yeah, I really appreciate that. But I am very, very blessed, which is very important. I've been in the main station, email, called, hard to get face to face. Yeah, yeah, Robert, it is. I mean, I can't. We hit that a minute ago. It is. My calendar is really booked up about a month ahead of time. I try to fit things in. So if we can do something with a call, I'm not sure about what the petition is. If you want to hit me up a little bit about that, if you provide a number, I'll be glad to call you. It may be after 5 o'clock. Sometimes, like tonight, I'm going to be here till about eight this evening. But I'm just not sure what that petition is. And yeah, if you just show up and try to see me, I may not even be in the building. So we just got to kind of work around that. But we can make it happen. Donna. Neighborhood Watch Coalition is, yeah, I saw that virtual. I'll be there. I talked to Donna Grubbs. I talked to Donna Vick this morning, my assistant, to make sure we had that set up. So I'm looking forward to that. It's September, right? Meeting September 14th. Yeah. And starting Neighborhood Watch in their community. Yeah. So Donna Grubbs oversees the Neighborhood Watch Coalition. She is a huge asset. Whether you would like to have a group together in the north, central, or south part, she can be instrumental and doing some things to get that set up. She does great. It looks like I'm reading here that you got some speakers. You got Nisha and Miss Shavers, Cheryl coming. That's important. So please, anyone interested, I would ask that you would reach out to us, to Neighborhood Watch Coalition. If you want to create a neighborhood watch in your neighborhood, or if one already exists and we can get you hooked up with them, I think it's really, really, really important. I think that's why we see crime decreasing. I think that's why we see our clearance rates increasing. In our interactions. The more that we know each other, the more that we interact, I think breaks down a lot of barriers. We can have disagreements, right? But we can sit down and talk and have those discussions. I think that matters. And Donna, you do a great job. You're a great asset, and I appreciate all the work that you do. And I mean that. Miss Dance, I love to work for you. Oh, see, now you get me all teared up. Wow, thank you very much. I appreciate that. You'd be great to work with. You'd be great to work. We should talk about that. We're always hiring. We got a lot of different things going on, so you should look into some of the openings that we have. Tim, I think you're leading one of the nation's most prominent and most effective, policing efforts. It shows. Wow, Tim, I really appreciate that. When the governor's task force reached out to us and told us what we wanted to talk about, I did 25 years in Richmond. I've been here 2 years as the chief. I'm very humbled. But I will tell you, a lot of the ideas that we come up with here, I've got 3 great assistant chiefs. I do not micromanage the men and women who work here. I want them to think outside the box and create new ideas. But I also look around what's going around the country and what are some things that we can craft and mold. It's funny you say that, Tim, because one thing this year that's kind of surprised me is the calls that I'm getting from other departments. Chief, how are you doing with your use of Force Review Board with citizens? What are you doing with citizens on the interview panels? What are you doing you actually have hired domestic violence workers in the department? But Tim, I think it all starts with me. It starts with the leadership. If I show that community engagement is important, And I'm telling you, I miss those high school football games. I know we got to be safe. I totally understand it, but I enjoyed Friday night going out and seeing parents and watching the high school games at Todd Stadium. And look, I enjoyed directing traffic after it was over and interacting with the citizens that came out, just saying hello. We get some high fives and hugs from little kids and telling the players, good job, and just talking to people. I think that matters. So I'll be glad when the football season comes back around, baseball, basketball. But I think it starts with me. And if I show an emphasis on people, that people matter, the youth matter, that our communities matter, I think that filters down through the organization. And I think it's just setting the tone. Do I make mistakes? Every single day. I struggle with the technology. They tell me all the time, don't touch anything. I make mistakes. I don't have all the answers. I rely on the citizens that live in our city, the interactions, those that come in and meet with me and talk about new ideas, the staff that I have around me, recruiting talent. Look, I will tell you, other departments are looking at individuals in this department for leadership and to lead their organizations. And that's all I'll say about that, but that's a good feeling. So we're trying, and I'm not waiting for something to happen. We're always talking about progressive. We looked at the crime numbers yesterday. On every Monday at 1 o'clock, we have our staff meeting. So there's about 20 of us in a room, safety, right? There's about 20 of us in a room, and the first half of the meeting is we go around what's going on in our individual precincts, our areas, our divisions. The second half of the meeting is about crime. So we have about an hour, we take a break for 10 minutes and have the second hour. I will tell you, yesterday, the second hour, we put the numbers away, and I just asked for interaction, and I listened, right? I listened about where each individual feels like policing is going in the future. What are things that we need to do to get ahead of the game? Is 3 academies the right way to go? Should we extend the academy? What new training do we need to put in? What should we be doing different in the field? How do we serve our families that have lost someone due to violence or victims? How do we ensure we reduce our traffic accidents in the city? And it's just brainstorming and thinking. I think that allows for different ideas to develop, making sure that everybody feels valued. And look, if people are quiet and sit in the back room and don't, I'll call on them. I want to know what people are thinking. I think that breeds intervention and innovative ideas and strategies. So that I really appreciate that, Tim. I appreciate that. Linda, City Councilman Dr. Woodbury, my friend, introduced me to you months ago when I was in City Hall. Oh wow, thank you. Linda, I really appreciate that. Thank you. Martin, Chief, how many officers will you send to those types of incidents? Will the officers be in uniform or plain clothes? So, the officers will remain in uniform for a reason. I need officers to be in uniform for visibility. They get called away. If you're talking about incidents where Martin, I want to make sure that you're talking about like homeless calls, mental illness, autism, drug addiction. If you're talking about those calls, so we will continue to send officers as a safety precaution, but that initial contact, instead of officers going there and deciding what to do or trying to find a way to help the individual and then calling medical professionals, the medical professionals will be there first, and we will just be there in support. And some calls that go on or have nothing, there's no violence at all. It's just someone suffering and needs help. These medical professionals, their relationships are much stronger in those fields than ours would be. But there are situations where violence is a part of it. That someone may be having a reaction to some type of substance, or that someone is off particular medication. The last homicide we had, there was mental illness and homelessness involved. It was a tragic event, a stabbing that resulted in a death. So we're going to try it. I think it's going to be, I'm optimistic. I think it's going to be beneficial. I hope that we can expand it as we move forward, but I'm really excited to see it get started. Alan Archer and our city manager, Cindy Roth, both were very, very supportive, as was city council, the mayor, and Chief Hudgens. It was his idea, outside the box thinking, looking at, again, what are some things we should be doing? And he deserves all the credit, and I just really look forward to that process. That's a great question.
He clarified that he was talking about mental health calls.
Mental health calls, yep. Yeah, so again, we will be in uniform, but there will be professionals that will be responding And again, I can only do it so many hours a day unless we expand. But I think we're going to get a really good return. I think it's going to be a success, and I am really, really excited. Rose, thank you, Chief, for shedding some light on defunding police. What you just stated is what I understand the cry is. Yep, which allowing those who are more to handle the need to be part of the response. This is why I appreciate your leadership. Pray as always. Wow, Rose, thank you. And please don't take anything away. Oftentimes, situations fall back on the police because we're here 24 hours a day. And I can give someone 40 hours worth of training, but it doesn't compare to someone who has a degree in drug addiction or mental illness. They're much more proficient. They study that stuff for years. I'm giving officers 40 hours, right? In some instances, not that. And if we don't use that training all the time with all the other things, so I think it's going to be a tremendous benefit. I think we will also learn from techniques that we see and things that they do and say. I'm really, really excited. I'm like a kid with a new toy. I'm just really, really excited to see, and I think it'll be a benefit to our citizens. Individuals that are contemplating suicide or are struggling. I just think there's better ways than the first person that they see is someone in uniform and a badge. And I share with our officers, it's not personal. They don't know us as individuals. They see this uniform and a badge. And I know we need those things for our safety and to be recognized and to who we are in the community. But those who have specialized training, I think it's just going to be an added benefit to the department and public service, and I am really, really excited. Faith, Faith, how are you? It's good to have you here. Thank you. Julie, yes, Drew, always doing great things. True, they're true. Oh, wow. These days, your department should be the main point. Oh, I don't know about all that, Julie, my gosh. But but listen, I give all the credit to the men and women. When things are going well, it is the men and women that are doing it. And when things are struggling or we're falling behind, then that's on me. I have to be able to look holistically and look at different approaches and ideas and how do we do the best thing and improve. I think that when we sit back and say, we got it all figured out, then we're in trouble. We're always trying to think of the next best thing. And it always doesn't have to come from my office, right? Officers bring up ideas. Citizens that I meet with talk about things. I'm actually working with a couple citizens that have talked about, Chief, we'd like to bring back midnight basketball. Now, that doesn't mean playing basketball at midnight at 12 at night till 2 in the morning. But it does mean something for youth to have something to do in the summer, whether we partner with a school or a park and officers are there. But citizens help facilitate it and run it. And maybe there's a positive message 10 or 15 minutes before games. And I think that's a great idea. But I don't want the police department to be the only one that has skin in the game. I want communities, and these men came to me, pastors came to me, and let me tell you, I'm all on board. I think it's a great idea. One, it breaks down barriers. Two, it gives you something to do, and we can talk and work together and be around each other and know each other. Leave my wallet at home. Oh, okay. All right. I like chicken wings. What else? Chicken wings and Diet Mountain Dew. And I don't have a sweet tooth too much. I'm big on salads.
Smoothies.
And smoothies. That's right. Smoothies. Yeah, big on smoothies. Peanut butter and banana. Let's see. I don't even know how I got off on that. Crisis in health. Yes. Just Googled it. Yep, mental health crisis. And that's what it is. At the end of the day, it's mental health. They have something like that in Harrisonburg. That system is out in Cahoots is out in Seattle. Our acronym is going to be CARE, C-A-R-E. And I think I'll tell you, I'm really, really excited. I was so stoked about the domestic violence team, and I've seen them take off. I think that our working with crisis intervention is just going to be huge. And my belief is that it will expand. Oh, you created the petition. All right, I just need to give it. Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, please. You can drop it by, or like I said, if I get a number from you, we can talk on the phone and we can meet somewhere or whatever works best. But I got you. I follow you now. And Robert, thank you for doing that. Wow, 5,000. Wow, that's impressive, my friend. Thank you. Rose is never intimidated by those who can bring a better solution to the table. Wow, I appreciate. Wow, Rose, I appreciate that. Look, I may have said it before. My mother was a school teacher for 30 years. She taught the third grade, and my father was in the military. He was a Marine. He spent some time in Vietnam. worked at a paper factory in Cincinnati, and they're now both retired. Um, so I think my upbringing, individuals who helped me, I was big into sports, mostly baseball, and the coaches that I had that helped me, and youth pastors and pastors. I fear God. I don't take this position lightly. I pray every day and ask for guidance and wisdom for myself and decisions that I make in this department. And I value people and I respect people. Um, and I think sometimes when you let people know that they matter, that you care about them, that you can get some great things done. So I don't take this position for granted. I think we should stay humble. Um, I do the best that I can on decisions. I don't always get it right. I make mistakes, but people matter to me. And those that struggle with different situations, I just want officers to realize and be empathetic and understanding and try to make a situation better. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Tracy, wow, it's great department. Wow, look at you. I hope you're still planning on coming. There is a lot of gifts here for you. I don't know if they'd all fit on a plane, but it's great to hear from you. I hope you're well. I look forward to seeing you, spending some time with you. And if the trip is still on, it'll be great. If you can't make it, I totally understand. I know travel's hard right now, but man, God bless you, your family, and man, it's great to have you on. Thank you so much. Wow, that made my day, Tracy. Thank you, Gary. Wondering if you can break down the concealed carry law in Newport News. Seems saying you can't open carry. Wait a minute. Seems some are saying you can't open carry anywhere. I don't believe that's true. I can look it up. Yeah, so the open carry situation is in government buildings and meetings, right? City council type things. They're not allowing open carry in those. It doesn't have anything. It's not about the Second Amendment. It's more about where you can open carry, right? And so it's public buildings, public meetings, those type of situations. Gary, if you want to give me a call, we can talk a little bit more about it. You're absolutely right that it has been causing some people just aren't sure, but it's the open carry. Concealed carry is still in effect, but open carry into facilities are what it's addressing. You're absolutely right, though. Melissa, I'm sorry I missed you when you visited my. Oh, that's all right. Oh, wow. Wow. Melissa, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm sorry I missed you too. But I'll be back around, and you have a friend here, and we can certainly meet up in neighborhoods and walk. I look forward to it. I met some great people in the neighborhood and really enjoyed it. Robert, we just touched base on that. I think I just missed I think your question came in after. Tim, teach at Yates Elementary. There you go. Along trying. Oh my gosh, Captain Artie's over there playing golf in Florida now. I love that your command staff visiting our school. Wow, thank you. It starts with you and your dudes. Oh wow, Tim, I appreciate that. Captain Hardy's a great guy. What Tim's talking about is when school was open, we have a SRO, a school resource officer in every high school and every middle school, but I don't have enough to put in the 26 elementary schools. So I had an idea that let's have officers who work during the daytime, chiefs, assistant chiefs, captains, officers adopt elementary schools. Now I adopted Jenkins Elementary School because that was the first school that called me and asked me to come talk to their students. So I've asked officers for 30 minutes a week, just 30 minutes out of the week that they work, to adopt each elementary school, and that we either see kids get off the bus and say hello to them, see them get on the bus, read to them in a classroom or in the library, or if we're daring enough to attend lunch. Now, that could be hazardous pay, and I've certainly walked out with some stains on my uniform, but I will tell you what, those kids at Jenkins, having lunch with them, that's pretty cool. Some of the stories you hear and encounters that they've had, it's pretty cool. And I have found that most officers really, really enjoy it. Just a funny story. Chief Hudgens, the assistant chief over our budget, where all the money is, and our IT stuff, and our recruiting, and our training, our academy, right? He came in he came in earlier in the year and he was limping, and I said, "Man, what's wrong?" And he's like, "I was playing dodgeball in gym class and I hurt myself." He said, "I'm not as young as I used to be, Chief." So I was like, Chief Hudgens, I wanted you to interact with the kids. I don't want you to get hurt, but it's hard not to, man. When you're around the youth of this city, I think they're some of the most special people. That's our future, and I cannot be more proud of him. Matter of fact, maybe I'll give him an award for being able to come back from dodgeball injury. He certainly got teased about it enough, but man, that is just, we really enjoy that. Miss Flora, my girls absolutely were tickled for the birthday phone call. Oh wow, I appreciate that. That means a lot. I know things are challenging with this pandemic that's out there right now, and you're absolutely right. It's hard, and I enjoyed taking the time to reach out and tell them that was special. So thank you. Yes, Martin, you're absolutely right. Yep, I was referring to the mental health. Yes, you're absolutely. We will still respond in uniform, but like I said, they may go to the door. We may stay parked in the driveway or on the street, and it's just for safety. We're not sure sometimes what we're walking into, but I tell you, Martin, I am really really excited. The 3 or 4 things that have come up this year that we've just done, and that is one that I think is going to be a game changer for us. Evan, a lot of our surrounding jurisdictions, Portsmouth, Norfolk, and Hampton, have and are receiving hazard pay working 15. Will Newport News Police receiving that type of pay and aid? Evan, that's a great question. My answer would be I believe so, yes. I don't want to go too much into that. I can tell you that our city has been very, very appreciative. I've received several phone calls from city administration. So I would say that's coming. When that happens, I don't exactly know when, but I'm fairly confident that will happen here. Anna, okay, I'll check the email right after that. Oh my gosh, man, let me tell you, Robert, I struggle enough with this job, my friend. You get me laughing. Now I'm not the politician. I just enjoy people, and I think if you're open and honest and have good conversations, that you can get a lot of things done. I did, like I said, 25 years in Richmond. I've been here 22 years, so 27 in law enforcement, and I am very blessed and I'm very content and very happy. But I do enjoy this profession, and even though now we're going through some challenging times, I do believe that Newport News and this community, our administration here, and our mayor and city manager, I do think we can be a trendsetter on community relations. We've probably had 25 demonstrations, and we haven't had anyone that has acted out and broken and destroyed property. And whether it's a protest, a rally, a demonstration, we haven't had to make any arrests. I've walked in most of them. We've had good interaction. Even some that have asked us not to walk with them wanted to have open dialogue afterwards, and I respect that. It's not personal. I want us to be the most professional police department that we can be. I want us to have empathy and understanding for others. And those that make mistakes will be held accountable. And I do make that commitment. And I think that's important. And I think that's how we get trust and transparency. So yeah. Ms. Garnett, you have your priorities in order. And guys, you know what? You're absolutely right. And I am very humble, and you're exactly right. He increases and we decrease. And having that guidance and direction has helped me throughout my whole life. Evan, thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Yes, now I will tell you, Evan, dispatchers, I had this meeting yesterday. I haven't really shared it with the dispatchers group here in whole, but right now dispatchers are not considered first responders. And the stuff that they go through, the calls that they take, and they don't get a lot of closure, they're the first ones that hear some of those calls. I want to push the city. I think Newport News should be the first city where dispatchers are considered first responders. That is something that I would really like to push in this city. They deserve it. The work that they do, the calls, the hours that they work, the stuff that they get. I think they should be considered first responders. And I'm really going to, in January, I'm really going to start pushing that we see them as that. They certainly deserve it. That's a great question. Remember my name. I want to do my internship with you. Alyssa, okay. All right. Sounds great. Jamie, have I missed anybody? Did I hit
Nope.
everything? I know
We're-
I went a little bit over. I feel bad for holding people up. I'm
We're
sure
all
they
caught
got.
up.
I'm sure they got a lot better things to do than listen to me. But so we're a few minutes over. So I apologize for that. I got in a few minutes late. Listen, I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to our citizens and our community. Everything going on with this pandemic, uncertainty, businesses closed, and wondering about finances. I do. I understand that people have challenges. Let me just say this: we take a deep breath and a step back. Um, we can do some great things. I know it's hard. I know it can be challenging, but if we work together, treat each other with respect, we will get through this. There's no doubt. I think this city can be a trendsetter for other cities in Virginia or even across the country. Not because of me, but because of the talent that's in this department and the talent and the quality of citizens that we have, businesses and faith leaders. Um, it is challenging times, but if we work together, respect one another, and listen, we can do some amazing things. Thank you for taking your time to spend with me this afternoon. I'll be back at 6, right, Jamie? We'll be back at 6 this evening. And I really apologize if I missed any questions. I hope I hit most of them. But I really appreciate you guys spending time with me. Now, get back to doing what you were doing, much more important than listening to me. Please be safe, and we will talk again soon. All right, guys, take care. God bless.